Well, welcome back, everyone. It's Embrace the Question, and it's also Bible study with me. And I hope you are ready. We are in the 42nd chapter of Genesis. It's Joseph still, and will be for the next 5 or so chapters. He'll be kind of a central figure until we are done with Genesis. But we're kind of right in the very heart of his story right now. There's a lot of drama about to take place. I mentioned last week there should have been a movie made about this, and I don't know that there ever has been from start to finish. I know there are a lot of plays about Joseph. This is really quite the story that we're in. It's so fantastical, if that's a word, so fantastic that it's really difficult to believe in places. The coincidences, which my wife would say the godcidences, because we know that he is directing, orchestrating all of this. Really cool stuff. Before I get started, for your church, for your Bible study, get a bag of Solway coffee. Solwaycoffee.com. I'm hitting my microphone. He's got dark roast, medium roast, whole bean, or ground, or you can get the K-Cups. Get them delivered right to your church, get them delivered right to your house, and it will be fresh, because that's what he's doing right now. I can almost guarantee you he's sitting over in his little shop, and he's got the roaster going. One of the most incredible smelling jobs ever, right? But he has a plan to reach a really, I hate to say unreached, but for all intents and purposes, these folks really need a fresh move of the Spirit, and that's why he's doing this. So if you want to support a kingdom business, grab some. There's a link in the description, and if I ever forget it, there's a link in the last video's description. So check that out. Okay, let's get into this study on Joseph, see what happens this week. This chapter is going to get some things started, and then it's going to drop us. It's going to leave us on the edge of a cliff because it expects us to go immediately into the next chapter, which we're not going to do until next week. So this chapter is not quite as long as the last. Let's go. It's verse 1. When Jacob learned that there was grain for sale in Egypt, he said to his sons, "Why do you look at one another?" It's like, what are you waiting on? And he said, "Behold, I have heard that there is grain for sale in Egypt. Go down and buy grain for us there, that we may live and not die." So 10 of Joseph's brothers went down to buy grain in Egypt. But Jacob did not send Benjamin, Joseph's brother, with his brothers, for he feared that harm might happen to him. What's the significance of Benjamin? Benjamin and Joseph were the only two born of Rachel, his beloved. Now, he had a lot born to him from Leah, from her handmaid, from Rachel's handmaid. That's where all 12 were born from, those 4 women. But the one he loved was Rachel, and she only bore him 2, Benjamin and Joseph. And he just lost Joseph, so he's not interested in losing Benjamin. And that's kind of a central premise here. Jacob is trying to prevent the loss of Benjamin at all costs. So he didn't send Benjamin. Verse 5, "Thus the sons of Israel came to buy among the others who came, for the famine was in the land of Canaan." The famine's everywhere, the worldwide. And by worldwide, it's their world, right? Don't think planet here. Think their world, as far as they know it, is under a famine. And so everyone is looking for food. Everyone is heading for Egypt. All right, verse 6. "Now Joseph was governor over the land. He was the one who sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brothers came and bowed themselves before him with their faces to the ground." Okay, his silly little dream just came to pass. The prophecy is now fulfilled. And you get kind of an image of a lemonade stand right? With a bunch of sacks of grain on it, and Joseph sitting on one side, and all these hungry folks are standing on the other. I think that's probably a little bit overgeneralized. Joseph's probably sitting way up high on a throne, overlooking all the incoming traffic, and he's overseeing all the food vendors because he is the boss. He's the guy with the red vest on, okay, at the supermarket. All right, verse 7. Joseph saw his brothers and recognized them, but he treated them like strangers and spoke roughly to them. Where do you come from? He said. And they said, from the land of Canaan to buy food. And Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. Again, we've got a parallel to Jesus in that Jesus was never recognized by his brothers to be who he was. That's the point. And it seems to be repeating here, right? They just didn't recognize him. Verse 9. And Joseph remembered the dreams that he had dreamed of them. And he said to them, you are spies. You have come to see the nakedness of the land. And they said to him, no, my lord, your servants have come to buy food. You really get a small hint of the stress involved because you don't mess around with heads of state in foreign lands. They literally have your life in the palm of their hand. And there is little doubt that these guys visiting from Canaan are scared to death. And Joseph knows it, and he's going to have some fun. No, my lord, your servants have come to buy food. Just as serious and sincere as they can be. We are all sons of one man. We are honest men. Your servants have never been spies. That's true. He said to them, no, it is the nakedness of the land that you have come to see. And they said, we, your servants, are 12 brothers, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And behold, the youngest is this day with our father, and one is no more. I looked at that, just looking for a clue. This phrase, is no more. It literally means he's gone. He's disappeared. He is no more. Okay, so there's nothing really hidden in the phrase. Verse 14. But Joseph said to them, it is as I said to you, you are spies. By this you shall be tested. By the life of Pharaoh you shall not go from this place until your youngest brother comes here. Send one of you, and let him bring your brother while you remain confined, that your words may be tested, whether there is truth in you. Or else, by the life of Pharaoh, surely you are spies. This is not looking good for them. Verse 17, and he put them all together in custody for 3 days. Okay, so now they find themselves in the pit also for 3 days. It's kind of come full circle for them. And he hasn't let any of them go home yet to retrieve their brother. He's letting them think about it. He's letting the fear grow, if you will. Verse 17. Okay, so he puts them in for 3 days. Verse 18. On the third day, Joseph said to them, do this, and you will live, for I fear God. If you are honest men, let one of your brothers remain confined where you are in custody, and let the rest go and carry grain for the famine of your households. And bring your youngest brother to me, so your words will be verified and you shall not die. And they did so. This feels a little strange. I'm going to keep one of you. He had to do that so that he could ensure that they would return. But we're going to see what happens because he chooses this route. Verse 21, and they say to one another, in truth, we are guilty concerning our brother, in that we saw the distress of his soul when he begged us, and we did not listen. That is why this distress has come upon us. Yeah, so they're very much, they all to a T now believe that they are getting their due recompense for killing Joseph, which is what they believe they did ultimately. They don't think Joseph has any chance of being alive. So they think they are being judged by God, and that's why all this is happening. In verse 22, And Reuben answers them, "Did I not tell you not to sin against the boy? But you didn't listen. So now there comes a reckoning for his blood." Reuben is the oldest. Verse 23, "They did not know that Joseph understood them, for there was an interpreter between them." So they're speaking in Hebrew. Joseph's sitting there pretending that he doesn't know the language, while there's an interpreter standing there who's not interpreting. So they're speaking, the interpreter's silent. They're pretty much assuming Joseph is clueless as to what they're speaking. That's kind of funny and ingenious. All right, verse 24. "Then he turned away from them and wept. And he returned to them and spoke to them. And he took Simeon from them and bound him before their eyes." So he's wanting them to know that he isn't playing. They are going to have to come back and get Simeon if they want Simeon back. "And Joseph gave orders to fill their bags with grain and to replace every man's money in his sack, and to give them provisions for their journey," or for the journey. This was done for them. This was kind of done to them, because you're going to find out this was done and they didn't realize it was being done, and it scares them to death. So in verse 26, we'll continue. "Then they loaded their donkeys with their grain and departed. And as one of them opened the sack to give his donkey fodder at the lodging place, he saw his money in the mouth of the sack. And he said to his brothers, 'My money has been put back. Here it is in the mouth of my sack.' At this their hearts failed them, and they turned trembling to one another, saying, 'What is this that God has done to us?'" Now they're worried that they have just stolen from Pharaoh, stolen from Joseph, and that they will, one, be wanted men. They will never have a chance to get Simeon back. And I think probably this was done for this purpose, to just put the fear of God into them, even more so. What is this that God has done to us? Verse 29. "When they came to Jacob their father in the land of Canaan, they told him all that happened to them, saying, 'The man, the Lord of the land, spoke roughly to us, and took us to be spies of the land. But we said to him, We are honest men, we have never been spies. We are 12 brothers, sons of our father. One is no more, and the youngest is this day with our father in the land of Canaan.' Then the man, the Lord of the land, said to us, 'By this I shall know that you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers with me, and take grain for the famine of your households, and go your way. Bring your youngest brother to me. Then I shall know that you are not spies, but honest men, and I will deliver your brother to you, and you shall trade in the land.' And so the rest of them are getting around to emptying their sacks. They haven't emptied their sacks yet. They just assumed this was a small oversight in one of their sacks where the money was just not taken. Okay, but now as they emptied their sacks, behold, every man's bundle of money was in his sack. And when they and their father saw their bundles of money, they were afraid." They're probably writing Simeon off about now. In verse 36, "And Jacob, their father, said to them, 'You have bereaved me of my children. Joseph is no more, and Simeon is no more.' So Joseph has written off Simeon. 'And now you would take Benjamin. All this has come against me.'" What is he saying? Jacob he's constantly living in this world where he feels like he's being deceived, which, remember, Jacob's name means heel catcher or the deceiver. He's the one that trips other people up. And that has always surrounded his life. And now it feels like in his old age, it's all ballooning on him and coming back to get him in force, if you will. It's all happening at once. "You've bereaved me of my children." He's perpetually grieved because of Joseph. And now Simeon's gone. And he's afraid he's going to lose Benjamin because he's got a decision to make. He must decide whether or not he's going to send Benjamin and attempt to explain away the money, or he's going to lose them. He's going to lose them. So Reuben, the oldest, says to his father, "Kill my 2 sons if I don't bring him back to you. Put him in my hands, and I will bring him back to you." But he said, this is Jacob, "My son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he is the only one left. If harm should happen to him on the journey that you are to make, you would bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to Sheol." Like I say, it leaves us at this point where they have to make a huge decision. And what we're going to discover is they think about it for a while. I can't imagine being Simeon in this case, because Simeon's sitting in the jail. Maybe, I'm sure Joseph is treating him very well, right? But according to these guys, for all they know, Simeon is sitting in a dungeon somewhere with rats, chasing his toes. They're sitting there eating all the grain, and they will continue to do that until the grain is gone and they have to go back to Egypt to buy more grain. So think of that. Think of that. They have to sit there and consider what they're going to do for as long as they have food, and then they're going to have to do something. It's a good thing for Simeon too, because goodness knows, they probably didn't tell him that they were going to go and eat all the provision and then come back. He probably understood them to say, "We'll go home, drop off the grain, get Benjamin, come back, get you, everything will be groovy." That would be what I would think. I mean, isn't that what you would do if it were your sibling? Of course, these guys aren't really all that kind to their siblings always. But the story does get interesting from here even more so. Well, that's it for chapter 42. The saga continues next week when we get into chapter 43. It will pick up immediately right there. But I'm telling you, I spend the entire time wondering if Joseph really understands the stress that he is putting on not only his brothers, but his father. I don't get the feeling that he has thought it through completely. I know that he wants to put them through some discomfort, and he's doing that on purpose, and they do have it coming. And certainly it will prove some things about if they are sorry, regretful about their past actions, if they've matured or not moving forward, and we will find out that they have greatly. And this will be the factor that ends up breaking the facade that Joseph is employing here. But that's pretty fascinating stuff. It's kind of a transitional chapter. Next chapter, well, it's going to hit hard. Okay, so stay tuned for the chapter 43. We'll get into that next week. Hope you have a great week. You guys be blessed. Peace.